Tourism and travel have begun to be recognized by governments across continents for economic gain and prosperity. Tourism is the most sustainable force for world peace, a passport to progress. BITB, an industry platform aimed at senior professionals, serious networking, and knowledge sharing across verticals, recently concluded its conclave at Pullman Aerocity. In attendance were stalwarts from different verticals of the travel and hospitality industry, and discussions were held on topics such as the future of travel agents and tour operators. Presidents of the 4 leading travel associations, TAAI, TAFI, IATO and ADTOI, participated in the discussions.
If you can get together, I think even the differentiation from my limited understanding of the industry, whether you are a travel agent or a tour operator, you are still in the same league of being a travel facilitator. You are a travel intermediary. So your business interests are the same. Big takeaway which I want to suggest to IATO, TAI, TAFI, all of them sitting here, that somewhere also please focus on if there is an opportunity or an avenue for working travel trade together. Your interests are common, whether it's inbound, outbound, whatever, domestic, somewhere you need to think about it. My second little takeaway, which I was mentioning to my good friend Ragini, that I will be talking on this in my opening remarks. We are all concerned with tourism in the larger picture. And I think somewhere, which I will try and echo through the day in various sessions in different forms, we need to understand that tourism is not just about asking for incentives. Tourism is not about just saying to the government that हमारा ये tax कम कर दो, हमारा ये कम कर दो, हमारा वो कम कर दो. I think we have lost the plot somewhere, chasing the larger story for tourism.
This explosion of knowledge radically altered the equation. So from being, we had ABCs, which was a great thing, because you could figure out Raipur was connected to which cities. You could figure out, Kota Kinabalu was connected to which cities. You have to work in reverse now, because that ABC is gone. But these were special esoteric pieces of information which were only available with the travel agent, and therefore the travel agent was king. Today, unless you know the product, unless you've experienced it firsthand, unless you've seen that destination and explored it, you're actually in no position to sell it. And I'm talking the larger concept of tourism, not just ticketing. Even ticketing, most of the time people are buying their tickets online. So the disruption that has happened is something that all of us have had to come to terms with in some measure or the other.
We cannot ignore the traditional markets which we have. They need to be catered to, and apart from that, we have to look to wellness, Ayurveda, yoga, meditation needs to be approached with suitable winning packages. Destinations competing with India and the USE must be kept in mind. Then again, the most important is sustainable and responsible tourism, and this should be the watchword as to how we can do that.
Also faced lot of challenges. All the traditional travel agents and the tour operators had challenges from the OTAs because of their unethical practices. Not only that, as soon as the traffic opened and the lockdown opened, what we had done during the pandemic, lot of webinars with the hoteliers, with the state tourism boards, or with the transport systems, all the stakeholders, we had done almost 75 webinars. And even the Ministry of Tourism, they also followed, seeing that domestic tourism is the only way forward to look into that for the revival of the tourism in India.
So let's not be worried about the change. Let's be ready to have a change. Directly to the airline counter and buying a ticket. That's a different story. The customer feels a lot of problems, but that's a fact of life. We must accept it. So I said, okay, let's do nice package. And I decided to make packages tours, and I was very successful. I went to Chardham Yatra package tour. I must tell you, I had 11 movements in the 1 month's time. Something like I did about 70 lakhs of business in the 2 months' time itself. So domestic is a huge market, but you have to sell packages. What I did, in a sense, high value packages. I refused to such low value packages. And I succeeded in that. I succeeded because I did not go to consumer directly. I succeeded because I went to you people directly. I had a list of 2,000 travel agents.
To that mode, what we need to learn and achieve to work forward is product distribution. How do we create products? We need to innovate. We need to be creative, and we need to market these products.
In the my story, everybody says that Nepal, how many people can accommodate in hotel? Obviously in hotel, maximum 1,000. But Nepal recently started 2 conventional hall, one with the capacity of 3,000 people in Kathmandu, and another in Lumbini with the capacity of 5,000 people, which where the Modi ji was there to inaugurate that. So where we can get, before we have a wrong perception that the Indian tourists spend less than the European tourists or the American tourists. Then we did one survey and we found that Indian tourists, in average, they are staying 4.6 days and they are spending 17,800 Indian currency.
You are watching Travel World Online.
Every crisis, every challenge has an opportunity.
Excellent.
So look at the opportunities.
Thank you.
And change your,
Thank you very much. Jyoti, from your perspective, prior to COVID, any specific challenges that you saw which will get structural in nature going forward? And first issue is with the margins itself, virtually no margins. Within that, is that itself is a challenge for survival. So what do you suggest that? So I'll come to suggestion later. What were the challenges then? What are the challenges which we're getting? Let's say in terms of a structural risk. And my question more or less is focused on the margins, because margins are no longer there, and you are better aware than me. What does the most of the businesses do when there are no margins? And this is pre-COVID I'm talking about. Now I can, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's okay now.
Thanks, Kapil, and thanks, Naveen, for actually organizing this. I think it's a wonderful opportunity after a long time to get onto a platform and discuss this, though we have been discussing the same over the 2 COVID years, like you've seen. I think, how do we actually define intermediary? I mean, what does it really mean? It means it's a mediator. So if our positioning is as a mediator, as a travel agent, and that's how you've put it, then we'll always be mediating between 2 people. I mean, that's how the business is going to go forward. I could be mediating for my corporate, my client, my customer, for the for the airlines, for the cruise companies. So my job is basically to mediate. So if in pre-COVID also era we saw that we actually don't give our own services the value. And I think that's where we are lacking as an industry. And I say that always, that if you are in this industry, which is an industry where there is a huge scope of growth and there's a huge scope of going forward, why don't we, and we've not done that over the years, we've not respected our own profession as such, let's put it that way. And I think that it's time for us to do that. It was time to do that even earlier. It's more the time to do it now, because I think we've realized in the 2 years that we've really had to stand by ourselves. We have proved ourselves, we are very resilient, and we've stood by ourselves. But say, looking at the margins with competition will always go down. It's going down with all the platforms, all the OTAs and all businesses. I mean, you look at Big Basket, or you look at Amazon, and you look at any other shop. So I think the margins will keep going down, but unless we actually take a conscious call to say that, hey, we are one industry, we believe in services like the doctors do or the lawyers do. I mean, you are dying, you will pay anything. The lawyers, you are losing a battle in the court, you will pay anything. So how do you really get to pay and get paid for your services? And it's a very a job that as a mediator you are carrying on your shoulders, where you're not even only giving the best experiences and service to your client, but you're also the in-between, like Subhashji said, you are paying refunds on behalf of the stakeholders, where you are not even paid. So you are actually in the most crucial of being a mediator, and so I think you should demand your services. And that was something which we've been talking about since years and years, but somehow the industry just doesn't get together for that, and they just don't try to understand that. And unless they do, this profession will never go forward. You need to understand your strengths, you need to understand your deliverables, you need to understand what you are really giving the value. And if you think you're not adding any value to your customer and not being able to charge for it, then I'm sorry, you're in the wrong business. So I think that is what I would think you should be doing.
Jyoti, specifically when you look at the principles, they are looking at distribution in a different way. It's changing and will change further. It's no longer up to the agent itself to see their role in the distribution will get challenged because principals are looking at their business models differently. Tell me from your perspective, apart from margin challenge and the fact that we are not able to charge service fee appropriate to cover our cost, do you see the travel agent in the form it's now bringing value to the client and to the principals? And does that need to change?
Yes, I think that certainly needs to change. It's time for us to be very professional in every aspect. And I say that very loudly. Because, I don't know, I think when I go back to the old times, and I've been in the industry long enough to quote that, leaving the travel agents initially, because you never needed any huge investment to get into this business. You never needed any MBAs or any, degrees to get into this business. I'm talking about now as a travel agent, not only in the hospitality, and I can understand hospitality is different. I'm talking about as travel agents. So anyone who wanted the most glamorous life, anyone who wanted to socialize, anyone who wanted freebies at that time, all jumped into this business. So somehow down the line, when this started happening, and I'm just going down the history to just explain why this happens, that we lost our actual thought process of saying, why are we in this business? Are we here to make money? Are we here to have fun? Or I'm very happy that Naveen calls me for a cocktail in the evening, and I'm very thrilled that I'm invited for dinners and cocktails and I get it for free. So like I've always been said, a travel agent never can die of hunger or thirst because he's always invited. So, so that's one thing we've always been looking at as a travel agent, and that's the value we have given ourselves. Okay, it's good. But I think going beyond now, and we are the youngest country where the major population is 35 and between those that span of age. There is a different culture that's going to come into the industry. The culture which the youngsters are looking to drive. Technology, of course. And I always say technology because technology is not a technology. It's not something that you should be very proud of that you are on technology platform. It's an enabler. And without that you can't survive. It's like you can't survive without food and water today, or you can't survive with your drink today. So it's an enabler. But moving forward from that and being enabled to do your business properly and to deliver that experience, things are going to change dramatically because the youth doesn't have time. If they want a reward, they want it now, and now means now. They're not going to wait for you to say, hey, I call you back. Experiences, they're the first people to even put your good things on the social media and even the worst things on the social media. So you will automatically start delivering saying, hey, I'm going to be out in the public, my reputation is out in the public. The youth doesn't, they are absolutely, they don't have any emotions with anyone today that they are going to be very loyal to anyone because they feel wherever they get best, they are going to move there. So I think looking at all those changes which are going to happen, and there are going to be quite a few of those changes that are going to happen when the youth comes in, I think we will have no choice but to adapt to them. And the ones who cannot adapt to the change quickly and get onto the new mode of travel to really treat tourism as an experiential platform, travel as again a support system, ticketing what I mean to say as tourism, and hospitality as the end need to say that, hey, when I travel, I need to be comfortable. I can afford it and that's what I need. I do not want people bothering me. I don't want people harassing me. I don't want to go through any difficulties. So you have to be, again, the correct format of mediator and the intermediary.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jyoti. Thank you very much. We move to Shobha. Can you give us your point of view? Pardon me? Oh my God. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I'm sure Naveen can organize a cake. Okay, that's great. Okay, so let's go to Shobha. Your questions, your comments on the distribution prior. What challenges did it face, and what kind of challenges?
So prior to, I'm actually in a kind of a unique business when compared to everybody. I am a mediator for a mediator.
Right.
So I'm a sales and marketing representation company, and I kind of mediate between hoteliers and the DMCs.
Right.
So in fact, before the COVID, it was a pretty smooth ride because this was a collection of small and boutique hotels in offbeat areas. There were hotels who, there were tour operators who really wanted to, up their game and start looking at boutique properties. Then the hotels were very aligned towards inbound. In fact, 60 to 80% of the hoteliers that are on board RARE, they all wanted the Goras, right? So it was quite easy. So my job was just to connect the right hotelier, the right tour operator with the hotelier. So that was quite good. One of the challenges that happened to us was in 2003 when we started, we were probably the first movers. So we were just one company, or probably a couple of others were there, but in the sense that the way we did it, there were not many people. But the other thing that happened was we had competition. We had a lot of competition. And what we are talking about here, that travel agents, the undercutting and things like that, I saw this happening in my business. So, and it was such a small capsule that you could actually see it unfolding in front of your eyes. In the sense, when I started and I hope this will give you a little insight into what we've done to ourselves. So when I started out, we used to charge, like hypothetically, about 20,000 rupees from a hotel per month. And every year, because, work was increasing, the hoteliers were doing better and things like that. So it was slowly we were inching towards making it about 25 to 30%, 30,000 rupees a month. Then the competition came in. So people started saying, why are you asking us for more money? But that person is doing the same thing, but he's doing it for half. So then we kind of stopped at 20. We couldn't go beyond 20. And then more people came in. And more people started saying, oh, we do this also, we do that also, we do things RARE doesn't do. Then it went from 20, it went down, started going to 15. And by the time pandemic hit us, we actually had to look at our business and say we'd either increase the number of hotels or and keep reducing our rate per hotel, our monthly retainer per hotel, or completely reduce the number of hotels we have and say, take 2 or 3 hotels and say, this is our price. And we are not going to do anything. But this representation business did it to ourselves. We didn't have a benchmarking, we didn't have a best practice thing that said, listen guys, we are just 20 people. This is how we can increase and improve our business. We stick to like a kind of benchmarking and say we don't go below this. There's a lot of business in the industry. There are a lot of hoteliers who would be wanting this, and there are more and more people, more and more small business, for them it was a win-win. They did want to work with us. We were first movers, but it didn't matter after a point in time, right? So I think that is exactly what happened to the travel business as well. We really don't have, and this is across the board. The airlines should say, sorry, you cannot book directly with us. Hotels should say, sorry, you can't book directly with us. We work through channels, and this is the channels. They do it through OTAs, don't they? Right? So why couldn't they say that, why can't you have to work through tour operators? We don't. And I've seen in my small boutique hotels, there are some great examples. Hotels who stuck to this in the pandemic and said, you come through travel agents. If somebody is calling from Bangalore, and typically this is what they do in the domestic market, they'll say, they'll take rates from you, they'll look at you on Instagram, they'll call the hotel and they'll ask, what can you give? The hotels that stuck to their rate and said, sorry, whether you come directly or you come indirectly, this is the rate you get. Those were the hotels that were successful in the pandemic.
I wanted to ask you the 2 questions, 2 points that, one thing that stuck to me most, and that relates to value creation we talked about. One, you said that you were putting that foreign principles with the travel agents here or the right tour operators.
No. Putting the hoteliers in touch with the
With the
DMCs.
foreign hotels?
No, with the DMCs here, the tour
Right,
operators.
but foreign hotels, right? Or the,
No,
domestic?
Indian hotels for Indian
Right.
DMCs.
So when you were doing that, was it a value creation that you did because getting the right hotel to the right DMC, that itself is my assessment, a part of the value creation that we were looking
Absolutely,
at.
yeah.
I'm getting the right customer, he will give me the right
Absolutely.
yields.
Yeah. So it was a
How
value
is it
factor.
now? I mean, you started with it, how is it now as the commoditization
So
became?
let me answer your value creation thing first. It was value creation. It continues to be value creation because these are not hotels, these are not your regular branded hotels. They are all in the off the beaten track areas. A lot of tour operators sitting here have actually put destination on the tourism map. So it was value creation not only for the hotel, for the destination as well as for the tour operator, because otherwise he was selling Delhi, Agra, Jaipur or Kerala, Cochin, Marari, something, without somebody like us intervening and explaining the destination and how they can use the destination to benefit and how he can offer it as a product to their operators. There would be no value creation. So it was an entire chain of value creation, both for the hoteliers, for the tour operators and also for the foreign tour operators.
Tell me, in your experience starting from 2003, because that was a boom for hotels, I remember right from 4, 6, 7, 8, cities like Bangalore were getting...
But actually not for the boutique hotels. The
For
boutique hotels
main
actually
hotels.
came into their own somewhere in 2009, 2010. That was when this whole, the whole concept took on.
We heard here that a travel agent brings experience, has a relationship, he is available X number of time. In your experience, does it create a premium? Because you said that in your business particularly, that the retainer kept getting reduced and as many people come in. How do you monetize a relationship? How do you monetize what you do for a client? And is it monetizable anymore? Or very few can do it, rest of them can't do it?
Yeah, see, that's the tricky one. Number one, of course, is that there is the service part of it, which everybody spoke about, that you are there, but then you are the service industry, you're expected to be there, right? So that is the service part of it. You're able to communicate well, and you're able to do all of this in a certain way. You're able to give, you're able to offer solutions to immediate problem. But you don't sell a business on the basis that if things go wrong, then I'm here for you. That's not how you do business.
Right.
You are there even before a problem strikes you, with opportunities and ideas and knowledge. So before before the problem arises, you are the first and foremost what you have on offer is the knowledge and the vast experience of the destination that you have to offer.
Right.
That includes, I mean, if there is a small boutique hotel opening somewhere in the boonies, as a tour operator, it is your job to know first, before your foreign tour operator says, and this is what technology is done. The foreign tour operator sitting, somewhere in the US is able to send you a mail and say, have you heard about this hotel? We saw this on LinkedIn. Before that happens, as a tour operator, if you want to create value, you are out there first, putting it out there in your...
So what you're saying is that whatever service we talked about and we heard during the course of this discussion, that service is integral to what you offer.
Yeah.
So it's not a new thing that you are available at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's not going to be monetizable for you, except you may get retention. You may have the client coming back to you, but you're not able to monetize it over above. Is that what your experience is? Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to Samir. Samir, give us your inputs on, from your perspective, what was prior to COVID, the distribution challenges, and what kind of challenges your businesses faced prior to COVID.
Thanks. So I think from a typical hotel perspective, and if I sort of talk from the hotel industry perspective, we have been distributing through multiple channels, and travel specialists are one, online is another. We of course deal with corporates and deal with guests directly as well who want to book directly in hotels. Typically what we have seen, and which is where hotel companies have an edge over unbranded hotels, is the ability to use the data effectively, as Mr. Bakaya alluded to, in terms of technology. I think if I sort of talk on behalf of the 80% of hotels in the country which are unbranded, what they would have struggled with compared to the branded hotels who are better off in that is the ability to price themselves appropriately to the various channels in terms of volumes, in terms of the need of that period, etc. So I guess technology has been definitely of importance to us in the hotel industry for a fairly long time now. Of course, we are all talking about it now more than before. But in terms of distribution, the biggest challenge for hotels in general is trying to reach the customer at the right time and be able to price it correctly.
Right.
So the challenge is bigger for unbranded hotels since they don't use technology as well. Of course, there are a lot of standalone hotels who have now started picking up products, etc. But I would say that was what we saw before the pandemic, because I guess that's what you're asking.
So from a distribution, let's say distribution mix perspective, you talked about pricing. Obviously, you would view profitability by channel. Why does the travel agent, the retail part of the travel agent, figure in the distribution mix that you have? And is it profitable for you when the business that comes from a travel agent?
So of course, and in fact that's the reason you see hoteliers doing a lot of business with travel agents, and you know, in fact our company, we have had a fairly strong relationship with the travel trade over the last couple of decades or more than that, and I would say that for many of the other players here as well. So for sure it makes sense. And why does it make sense? Because the travel trade, all of you have a reach to a large segment of the consumer who trust you, and I think that's why they book through you. So for us, it's absolutely important to be able to connect with you and understand, as Mr. Bakaya said, understand what your needs are and how we can help you crack that deal, so that we also get benefited.
Right. It does. You know, earlier we used to get 10%, 15% commission on bookings. How is it changing, and how will it change going forward? At least, how did it change prior to COVID? I'll come post-COVID now.
So I think prior to COVID, probably the biggest challenge which I have seen, if I sort of talk on your behalf, is the business which shifted from the travel specialists to the online platforms, because online platforms came funded and they were able to put in a lot more money to dilute the rates which they were actually picking up from hotels. So we, of course, and most hotel companies, especially the chains, are very clear in terms of following price parity principles, and hence hotel chains would be offering similar rates, in fact preferential rates to travel trade at times, because of course there is all the productivity linked incentives as well. Yeah. But having said that, for sure, if I talk on your behalf, you probably saw that as one of the biggest challenges, seeing the shift to the online travel trade. And I heard that in the previous session as well, where people said somebody booked on one of the channels and couldn't cancel, etc. But for sure, that has been the challenge, on if I speak on your behalf.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Singh, same question to you.
Yeah. So I think, the oldest debate in our industry is about online and offline. And I don't know and I don't understand why there is a debate. One is a platform. You people are the human interface. What you bring to the table, no one else can. Like Rohit said, you are the product. You get the customers, you tie up the hotel, you give all services from the time the customer enters the country, the guest enters the country till the time he leaves. I think it's about valuing the service that you provide. The facilities, what you bring to the table very differently. And I'll give you a classic example. I know this is a very fragmented space, but so is hotels. And I'll give you a very classic example. Pre-COVID, if you ask my hotelier friends on this table and otherwise, it was always a price battle. It was all about competing about price. But let me tell you what COVID has taught us, and these are facts and figures which you will see play out. In the last 2.5, 3 months, the average rate of hotels are 15 to 20% higher than April and May of 2019. What does it tell you? I think it's about valuing the price, the service that we provide, what we are worth. And hotels have, even though it's a very fragmented space, I think it's a call that we've all taken individually. And in our business, in the hotel business, it's always occupancy first and rates to follow. But let me tell you today, Indian occupancy, the average India occupancy is still not caught on to the pre-COVID levels, but the rates are 15 to 20% higher. So it's not about chasing volumes, but it's about chasing value. And I think that's the big change that is brought on in our space in the pre and the post pandemic.
Passenger ferry service to link Malaysia's Desaru coast with Singapore's Tanah Merah ferry terminal. Over-tourism has caused great damage in Himalayan states. Dubai's tourism recovery sees city welcoming 6.17 million international visitors in January to May 2022. Bahrain Tourism appoints VFS Global as India representative. Travel demand will speed West Asian Airlines return to profits in 2023, predicts ITA. South Africa lifts COVID-19 rules including mask mandate and entry requirements.
Malaysia's Johor State's Desaru Coast and its official ferry operator, Desaru Link Ferry Services, a subsidiary of Batam Fast Ferry, have announced start of ferry services on newly approved route between Desaru Coast Terminal and Singapore's Tanah Merah Ferry Terminal from July 7. Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Desaru Development Holdings, said, "We thank all government agencies for supporting and working closely with us to facilitate this new international connectivity, which will make Desaru Coast even more accessible to international travelers."
Over-tourism has caused great damage in Himalayan states. The barely 10 SQKM Leh town saw a total of 20,918 quintals waste, both biodegradable and non-biodegradable, generated in just 11 months from June 2021 till April 2022. It is high time to rethink on economic growth at the cost of environmental loss.
VFS Global has signed a contract with the Bahrain Tourism and Exhibitions Authority, BTEA, to serve as their market representative in India. In this role, VFS Global will be responsible for building trade relations with regional stakeholders and promoting the destination through online and offline marketing, including social media, as well as public relations. South Africa has decided to lift COVID-19 rules. According to the Department of Tourism, doing so would benefit the tourism industry, as now South Africa would be easily accessible and visitors will no longer experience less than a comfortable stay in the country.
You are